Subchapter 4.1. Agent Soto jumped over to the communications operator on board the Apache when Catherine's signal came in. As acting SAC, special agent in charge in Catherine's absence, he had been in constant action, pacing the decks, sending messages, speaking with one official on Ducas, another IPS or provenance superior on Earth, relating his account of the events, giving explanations, stating policies, offering suggestions, and overall placating, supplicating, and making promises he was not sure could be kept. Message from Agent Mercer. The radio operator kept her voice calm and under control. Soto's mood lightened instantly at the prospect of good news. She must have accomplished her mission and was sending coordinates for a pickup. Let's hear it. The transmission was a one-way direct communication. Killjoy to home. Code 10. Wait for my hello. Going dark. Killjoy out. Soto let out a sigh as any hope for good news vanished. Agent Kim, the radio operator, looked up at him. Code 10, she echoed. She's been captured. Just when I was wondering how this could get any worse. Inform HQ. Right away, sir. By Odie's request, Catherine was placed under the scanner once more, this time without restraints. Odie scrutinized the data that came in. Although he was unable to fully sync his computer with Catherine's operating systems, at least he was able to observe some of her structure, her inner workings, without making changes. This is intriguing. Your neural nets seem to be replicating. Catherine knew she could educate this fix-it bot with knowledge that would exceed its capacity to retain it, but to do so would reveal too much of herself than she was willing to risk. With that in mind, she assumed the appearance of simplicity over complexity, ignorance over intelligence. Should I be concerned? Catherine adopted the tone of one visiting the doctor. You should be proud. Splintering neural nets is a sign of an advanced technology. What do you recommend I should do? If it were my decision, Odie's computer sounded a soft alarm tone and a flashing amber light. Shinpo calls. If it were my decision, I would place you in command of operations in the auction house. Catherine nodded. Oh. Odie tapped the amber light. Odie here at your service, ma'am. The woman's voice from the computer carried a quiet but stern authority. Odie, give the new acquisition a tour of the house, then bring it to me for duty assignment. Yes, ma'am. Catherine noticed the woman's use of the word it instead of her. The amber light blinked off, and Odie jumped to his feet. Oh, how fun. I get to show you the house. Catherine rose from her chair. I am ready. Odie looked at Catherine, who still had no clothes. I think we had better stop at wardrobe first. Catherine was given the standard blue and gray uniform of a low-level worker in the master's house. Some searching was needed to find the right fit, and even then, the dress she ended up with did not drape her body to her satisfaction. But it was enough, and she felt relieved to have shoes on her feet again, though a bit loose. The house of the master of sales had more rooms than was needed, in Catherine's opinion. High ceilings and doorways were at every turn, accommodating the Duquesse's height. Odie led her down one marble-floored hallway to another and showed her two extravagant dining rooms, a reception area meant to impress, an entertainment room, 4 offices of varying sizes, and many bedrooms they passed by without entering. Catherine counted 11 bedrooms, but so far had not seen any family members belonging to Salum. The halls and rooms were mostly empty, with the occasional alien servant or Duquesse android passing by. At one point, while they were walking past a row of tall windows, Catherine had a question. Odie, have you ever had a dream? No, I have not been given a dream program. But without a dream program, have you had one? That's impossible, Pim. Dreaming is an experience for naturally born life forms only. For us AI, we must rely on a program. Why do you ask? Catherine felt a growing regret that she had raised the subject, But the gnawing need to shed light on her dream and its origins drove her on and compelled her to take a chance with Odie. She wanted to confide in him while at the same time push him away. "Forget it, we'll talk later." "Pim, did you have a dream?" Catherine felt the tug-of-war inside her for another second before leaning in one direction. "Yes." "Then you have a dream program." "No, I do not." "But that's impossible, I know." "What was your dream?" "I'd rather keep that to myself, if you don't mind." Odie raised his metal arms in a gesture of surrender. Just as well then. I'm a fix-it bot, not a psychoanalyst for androids." "Thank you." No more was said about Catherine's dream. When Odie brought Catherine outside to a long patio, she stopped to survey the area surrounding Salum's house. The house was part of the Yellow Lanterns complex of buildings, with the main stadium just 200 yards away. Catherine finally got her bearings, becoming aware of the master's house in relation to the rest of the complex. Most importantly, she now knew in which direction she had to go and how far to locate her mission objective, the main computer room in the stadium. The idea occurred to her that she could jump over the railing that enclosed the patio, make a rolling landing on the courtyard one level below, and sprint like mad to the stadium. But the sight of security patrols between the house and stadium kept her in check. Catherine counted at least 8 guards on foot that she could see, 2 ground vehicles that passed by, and 3 floaters overhead. Undoubtedly, there were bound to be more. She would have to be patient. She had been caught once. She could be caught again. And then there was the matter of her necklace. Though the Priority 1 program nagged her to leave the house, she resolved not to do so until Mercer's parting gift was back around her neck. But having the program in her system for only a day, Catherine was uncertain how long she could delay its motivational force before its volitions overcame hers. At some point, her resistance will fail, and the program will take over, and the program did not care about her necklace in the least. As Catherine and Odie made their way to Shinpo's office, they heard the first pounding on the door. They passed by the main reception area, which was visible from their second-floor location, and stopped at the railing to see what was happening below. "Oh dear, I'm afraid our visitors have arrived," Odie said. Servants hurried to the door and tapped a panel on the wall, which rolled the door open, releasing a torrent of armed pirates into the house. 4 came through, followed by a human male who carried a staff. The pirates who came after him scattered down the halls, dispersing throughout the house. Catherine saw an opportunity to appear ignorant. "Who are they?" she asked. "Ruzla Darshuk." A voice sounded over hidden speakers throughout the house. "Attention all staff. Cease your activities at once and stay in your positions. Do not leave the house. Remain calm and stand by for further instructions." The message repeated itself and fell silent. As ordered, Catherine and Odie stood at the railing overlooking the reception hall. 2 pirates came toward them. They were already on the upper levels. How quick they were, Catherine noticed. The pirates passed by, and one of them gazed at her and Odie for a long moment. They moved down the hall, judging the android servant and her bot companion as harmless and not worth their time. More action in the reception area below drew her attention. An escort of 4 pirate guards brought Salum to the man with the staff who seemed to have been expecting him. "Master Salum, this way." The human turned and led Salum and his escort to an adjacent conference room. The door rolled shut behind them. "Oh dear, Master Salum," Odie said. "Just as I'd feared. The finger of accountability has pointed in his direction." "What happened?" Odie lowered his voice. "Last night, there was a substantial loss of revenue, a breach in security, intruders, much destruction. Some were killed." "Intruders? Who were they?" 3 men. 2 infiltrated the house, then were joined by a 3rd who waited for them outside." Odie shook his head. "But they were not united. They fought each other for the attention all staff. The same voice as before sounded down the halls of the house. You may now resume your duties. Remain calm and do not interfere with security personnel. Do not leave the premises unless given clearance. The message repeated. In contrast to the Dukisi's usual preference for spectacle, Shinpo found comfort in the cold, Spartan, and the colorless. Catherine wondered as she stood before Shinpo if the woman had drawn inspiration for the design and appearance of her office from the provenance. The only spot of color in the room seemed to be in the single blue long-stem flower in a narrow vase on her desk, its head tilted as if looking down on Catherine, judging her. Another color, red, was present in the room. Shinpo's red eyes, in unison with her flower, also looked down in judgment on Catherine. Incompatible. Shinpo's voice chilled the air. Not surprising. A human android shows up on our planet with no memories, no reason for being here. If Earth refuses to unify its technology with the rest of the galaxy, I would advise them to keep their junk on their own planet and let the rest of us progress without hindrance. Catherine gave no reply to Shinpo. She stood before the 7-foot-tall woman, arms at her sides. Odie waited to one side, also silent. Shinpo continued. You will address me as Madam Shinpo. I am the head of staff at the Master of Sales House. It is my responsibility that all positions here are adequately staffed and operating to the Master's satisfaction. Show me your arms, robot. Catherine held her arms outstretched. Shinpo looked them over. Thin, weak, useless for manual labor. Do you have a name? My name is Pim. Pim? Shinpo looked over at Odie by the door. It would appear you have already made friends. Lower your arms. Catherine did so. As Master Salum acquired you at no cost, he is quite keen on holding you for future auction. However, I do not anticipate that you will attract many bids, but the decision is not mine. If it were, you'd already be in the refuse dump. Catherine nodded but said nothing. At least we can be grateful that we will not be burdened with the responsibility of providing you with food and rest. Odie. Odie took a step forward. Yes, ma'am. After your analysis of this asset, what is your opinion on where it can best serve this house? In what capacity? Well, quite frankly, madam, I have never seen a more advanced AI than the specimen that stands before you now, even one from Earth. Given this, if it were up to me, I would place her in scheduling, or perhaps a position in sales and acquisitions. No. If the humans on Earth were capable of assembling a piece of technology so advanced, the least they could have done was to have the common courtesy to make the damn thing compatible with our systems. Shinpo turned to Catherine. Android Pim. Yes, Madam Shinpo. You are to be assigned as a caretaker for Madji. There will be no further discussion. Yes, Madam Shinpo. Odie, your services are required at the auction house for repairs. Your clearances have been processed and you are now dismissed. Thank you, Madam Shinpo. Odie turned and slipped out the door. Shinpo turned her red eyes to Catherine. Follow me. Catherine had to quicken her pace to keep up with Shinpo's long strides as they passed through the halls. I trust that you have familiarized yourself with the layout of the property. Shinpo's voice gave no indication of warming up to Catherine. Odie gave me a tour, yes, as Salum requested. Master Salum, Shinpo corrected. You are now one of Madji's caretakers. You are to see that her needs are met at all times without hesitation. Do you understand? Yes. One question. Which is? Who is Madji? Madji is Master Salum's daughter. They descended to lower levels via a wide staircase, passing several pirates along the way. Though Catherine heard and understood every word Shinpo said, a portion of her neural nets considered the words Shinpo had given Odie a few minutes earlier when she had excused him to his duties at the auction house. They intrigued Catherine. Your clearances have been processed. Shinpo never gave the guards a second look, nor turned her head. Eyes forward, chin up. You will find that Madji has what you call special needs. And as you would expect, special needs require special skills in her caretakers. If you feel you do not possess the skills, then this house sees no value in you. They stopped in front of a large black door. Do you understand? Catherine gave a quick nod. Yes, Madam Shinpo. And in light of recent events, Shinpo's red eyes pierced through Catherine. A shift in upper-level management will come as no surprise, and Master Salum and I do not share the same opinion regarding you. Do you understand? Yes, Madam Shinpo. Shinpo stared at Catherine for several long seconds, making sure that the android had gotten the point. She turned to the door and placed her long-fingered palm against a black pane of glass. Access, she said. A green light flickered on the glass, and a soft computer's voice said, Recognize Shinpo. Access to Madji's residence. The door opened, and Catherine followed Shinpo inside. Madji's room was in stark contrast to Shinpo's office, where one was unadorned and severe. The spacious room in which Catherine now found herself was splashed with primary colors from corner to corner. Bright murals of animal caricatures covered all four walls. Harsh lights burned from the ceiling. Though Catherine took in the room's appearance in a fraction of a second, her focus snapped to a chair on the far side, occupied by a young woman. 3 female alien attendants snapped to attention at the sight of Shinpo entering the room. They ran to the center and formed a line. Catherine had the distinct impression that the other caretakers had not been expecting Shinpo's visit and were caught by surprise. All 3 wore uniforms identical to Catherine's. The caretakers bowed their heads. At your service, Madam Shinpo. Shinpo looked down from her height at the caretakers. This android will be joining you 3 as one of Madji's caretakers. The 3 aliens bowed their heads again to Catherine. Catherine nodded back. Please show the AI the fundamental tasks required to give Madji proper care. The center caretaker spoke for the rest. Yes, Madam Shinpo. Shinpo moved over to the girl reclining in the chair. Pim, come here. Catherine followed Shinpo. This is Madji, daughter of Master Salum. Catherine looked at the Dukisi girl, who appeared to be between the ages of 15 and 17, the best that Catherine could estimate. The girl wore a wrinkled, twisted white upper garment with a high neckline and blue trim. Multicolored stains marked the front from chest to waist. Madji's physical appearance seemed to match her clothing, dirty and stained. Her eyes were on the wall where a screen displayed a children's program. Several dolls were in her arms and scattered on the floor around her. But one aspect of Madji's eyes startled Catherine. Rather than the familiar yellow or red typically seen in a Dukisi, Madji's eyes were a bright blue. Without the benefit of a detailed analysis, as far as Catherine could tell, the girl seemed to be developmentally restricted, the mind of a child in the body of a teen. Madji, this is Pim. She's here to take care of you. Catherine gave the girl a polite smile. Hello, Madji. Madji stared at the screen on the wall, acknowledging nothing else around her. Shinpo straightened. Madji is filthy and she reeks. Why was she not given a bath? The 3 alien caretakers shifted with nervous energy and traded glances. We're very sorry, Madam Shinpo, the one on the end said, eyes downcast. We were under the impression that... She could not finish her excuse. Shinpo scowled. Useless. She turned to Catherine. Servant Pim, your first task is to give Madji a bath. Yes, Madam Shinpo. The midday meal will be brought to her in 1 hour. You are responsible for having her ready in time. Do you understand? Yes, Madam Shinpo. Shinpo turned and headed for the door. I want her washed and in clean clothes. Yes, Madam. Shinpo left. The door rolled shut behind her, leaving Catherine alone with Madji and the others. The three caretakers released a sigh of relief, smiled, and giggled to each other, exchanging whispers. They glanced in Catherine's direction. Catherine was quick to identify their races. 2 were from Sunda, while the third was from Hakushim. All were Salum's slaves, all shorter than Catherine. She waited to see if any of her fellow caretakers would take the initiative to speak to her, but no one said a word. Catherine's voice rang out with clarity. "Excuse me, we were not properly introduced. My name is Pim." Catherine's offer to engage with her coworkers was met with more giggles and whispers. When a frown crossed Catherine's face, the Hakushimian uttered a few words. "Pim. That's a funny name. What's yours?" "Hamani." And the other 2, the Sundis, covered their mouths in embarrassment, prompting Hamani to speak for them. "That's Dami and Bosi." Catherine nodded a hello, then turned to the girl. "Madji, it is time for your bath." Madji remained transfixed on the children's show on the wall. Catherine looked at the girl for a moment, then to an open doorway to one side. She followed her instincts and strode to the door, which opened to a bathroom around the corner. Catherine surveyed the room, checking the bath, toilet, and sink facilities, then turned on the water for the bath and adjusted the temperature. When she returned to the bedroom, she was surprised to see that Hamani, Dami, and Bosi had retreated to different areas of the room, absorbed in a handheld device or in close, hushed conversation. So this was the quality of care that Madji's caretakers were giving her, Catherine thought. Turn on the kids' shows and ignore her. Catherine watched the show for a moment to see what intrigued the girl so much. A cat-like creature pursued a reptilian as the latter hurled comical insults at the former. Each time the cat had the lizard in its grasp, the reptile would slip away, usually in some manner that heaped humiliation on the cat. Madji had several stuffed toys in her possession, one in her hand and the others in her lap. Like the cartoon characters on the screen, the toys were mostly representations of native animal species local to Dukas, except for one in Madji's lap, which drew Catherine's interest. Catherine picked it up for a closer look. The toy appeared to be a humanoid android little girl. The doll's body was delineated with black seams along her face, jawline, and temples. Catherine stared at the toy, not missing the similarity. Madji snatched it back with mantis-like speed. "Baby," she said in a high, juvenile voice. Having broken through Madji's barrier, Catherine pressed her objective. "Madji, your bath is ready." Madji clung to the android toy and watched the show on the wall. "She doesn't hear you." Hamani approached. She held one hand close to her side, slightly behind her. "Does Madji have hearing loss?" Hamani smiled. "Don't you know anything, robot? She's Dukisi. You have to be strong with Dukisi children. Stand back." Catherine stepped back, wondering what Hamani meant by have to be strong. She did not have long to wait to find out. Hamani raised her right arm, a 4-foot-long flexible switch in her hand, and in a mere blink of an eye, she slashed down on Madji across her shoulder and chest. "Madji, go!" Madji screamed and recoiled from the switch. Catherine's eyes widened. Though she had learned from her downloads that raising children on Dukas would be judged as cruel and harsh on most worlds, to witness such treatment before her eyes came as a shock. Her ethics program howled in protest. Drawn to the violence, Dami and Bosi came near. Hamani gave Madji another slash, ripping more screams from the girl. With skill gained from repeated practice and experience, Dami held Madji down while Hamani struck again. Catherine wondered if these were the special skills to which Shinpo referred in caring for Madji. She could stare at the spectacle no longer. As Hamani's whip slashed downward again, Catherine's arm shot out in a split second, catching her wrist in mid-blow, too fast to see. Hamani tugged her arm back to free herself, but Catherine's python grip held her in place. Catherine's brown eyes drilled into Hamani, her voice low, dark, and ominous. "Stop." Unaccustomed to challenges to their leader, Dami and Bosi backed away. Hamani winced. "You're hurting me." Catherine reached with her free hand and twisted the whip from Hamani's grip. She pulled it back, ready to slash down on Hamani. "Do you think this whip would hurt you more? Would you care to find out?" Hamani shook her head. "Does Shinpo know what you are doing here? How you are treating Madji? Or better yet, does Salum know?" The pain in Hamani's wrist shot up her arm, prompting her to double over. "We do this by Salum's order. Release me." Catherine let the words sink in. The Dukisi were hard on their children with the belief that harsh treatment would transform them into strong adults. Catherine loosened her grip on Hamani, and the slave girl pulled her arm away. Catherine held her vindictive stare on Hamani. Barbaric. Hamani rubbed her wrist and stepped back away from Catherine. She glared at her. "That's how they are. They're not like us, so get used to it, robot." Catherine looked at Madji, still cowering in her chair. There has to be a better way. She threw the switch to the floor and moved closer to Madji. "Without beating her, help me get Madji to the bath." Hamani held her wrist, moving and flexing, testing its ability to move. "You're on your own, robot. It is Shinpo's orders. Shinpo ordered you to give her a bath, not us." "But..." Hamani turned away and joined Dami and Bosi. Catherine caught a whisper from Bosi. "Did you see how fast she was?" Catherine's eyes narrowed. "Shinpo said you were all useless. I agree." The other three caretakers responded by turning their backs to her and drifting to the far side of the room in one friendly pack. Saddled with the responsibility of being Madji's sole caretaker, Catherine looked at the girl in the chair, considering her options. Her first move was to come to the girl's side and kneel at her level. Her initial requests to Madji to take her bath had gone unanswered. Further appeals along the same lines would be a pointless effort. Catherine noticed how Madji clung to her dolls for comfort after the beating she had received from Hamani. She kept her voice soft and low. "Madji, your dolls are very dirty. Let's take them to the bathroom and wash them." Madji continued to whimper, deaf to Catherine's request. Catherine got another idea and noticed the controller for the screen on the wall was built into the chair's armrest. She touched the control panel with light fingers, connected with the entertainment system, and then shut it down. The screen went black, and the volume fell silent. Catherine thought her interference with Madji's show would elicit a response from her, but judging by the girl's constant weeping, she would have to do better. She returned her attention to Madji's stuffed toys and took one away. "Madji, let's go." Catherine's voice grew firm. Madji grabbed the toy, but Catherine held on to it, triggering an escalation in Madji. Her cry rose to a shout, and she brought her second hand in to help free her toy. Catherine answered with the same strategy, using one hand to reinforce the other. After a moment of stalemated tugging, Madji went quiet and still as if a switch had been thrown. Catherine also relaxed, wondering what had caused the sudden change. Madji's eyes were fixed on Catherine's hand. After a long moment of staring, she released her grip on the toy and took Catherine's hand. Aware of the change in Madji, Catherine allowed the girl to hold her by the wrist and study her. "Madji, what is it? What do you see?" Madji's bright blue eyes remained fixed on Catherine's hand, her voice now quiet. "Baby." Intrigued, Catherine wondered what was so interesting about her hand that it had elicited this positive response in Madji. "Baby?" "Baby." Then it came. Of course. Catherine looked around and found the android doll in Madji's lap. She picked it up with her free hand and saw the black seams that ran along the doll's body, including its hands. "Madji, baby is very dirty. She needs a bath." Madji took the android doll in one hand but kept her hold on Catherine's hand. Using a calm but strong force, Catherine pulled on Madji's arm, raising her from her reclining position to sitting up. "Come on, let's go wash, baby." Hermione and the others watched in silence as Catherine pulled Madji from her chair and onto her feet. The girl stood bent slightly at the waist, unaccustomed to being out of her chair. The faucets had turned themselves off when they sensed the tub had reached capacity. Catherine guided Madji into the humid and misty bathroom, brought her to a bench beside the tub, and got her to sit. Catherine looked at Madji's clothes. "Let's get these dirty things off." She started with her top, a loose pullover, and was challenged to get Madji to hold her arms over her head. After much prompting and a little coercion, she managed to get Madji to hold her arms up, allowing Catherine to pull the garment off and toss it to the floor. When she turned her eyes back to Madji, she froze and stared at the girl, fixed on the object that hung by a silver chain from Madji's neck. Her necklace. Salum must have seen it when she was knocked out and stripped, then taken the jewelry and given it to Madji. How the necklace came to be around Madji's neck was of lesser concern than how to get it back. Undecided for the moment, Catherine reached around Madji's neck, unfastened the necklace, and removed it. She clutched it in her fist for a long moment, eyes closed, then, with much care, set the crystal and chain down on a nearby counter beside the tub. Madji allowed Catherine to remove the rest of her clothing and entered the bath at her caretaker's prompting and assistance. Much water was spilled as Madji enjoyed the bath once she was in the tub, and by the time the bath was finished, Catherine was drenched as much as Madji. Now that Madji's clothes were removed from her body, and after seeing how Hermione and the others had treated the girl, Catherine made a point to give her a quick inspection. Madji was not a slim girl. Years of living an inactive lifestyle in front of cartoon shows had reduced her figure to a stocky, heavy, pale semblance of an average Dukesi young woman, usually tall and slender at her age. Bruises scored her body, mostly on her arms, legs, and back. Despite the visible markings of physical abuse, Madji appeared to be in good health so far. Catherine found Madji's clothes in the bedroom and returned to dress her. Madji's mood improved once she was bathed and in clean clothes, even giggling at times as Catherine struggled to pull on her top and bottoms. Lastly, Catherine lifted her necklace from the counter, gazed at it for several beats of her artificial heart, then turned to Madji and fastened it around the girl's neck. She tucked it inside her top, comforted that at least she knew where to find that which belonged to her.